Hi everyone, Papa here.
And Kay and Kai.
And today's episode is going to feature some of the wildlife we encountered in and near Allegany State Park, New York during our recent camping event. We featured the highlights of the camping event itself in a previous video, and we encourage you to watch that video if you haven't already. So now let's take a look at the wildlife. Starting with the Red House Museum, which is in the administration building in the Red House area of the park. We enjoy walking through the museum each year when we are on our camping trip. We have a number of displays here. Always interesting to walk through. Look at all of the different animals they have on display. Quite a variety, and you can walk through it quickly and just take a few minutes, or you can spend quite a bit longer if you look at each and every display, read every sign, every label. Look at all of the different animals, from birds and fish to the animals commonly encountered in the park and some not so commonly encountered. And they have several areas where you can try to test your wildlife skills, such as matching the skull with the animal. Can you tell which is which? Some are somewhat obvious, some not so obvious. And they do have the answer key posted as well. You can test your knowledge as you're going. This type of animal, the bobcats, other big cats, aren't commonly seen in the park. Deer are much more common. And upcoming in this video, we'll focus on several of the deer that we saw this year, along with some of the other animals seen here in this display. We saw several of those while we were here. They've done an excellent job of the taxidermy on all of these displays. Very lifelike and realistic. Give you a good feel of what the animals look like in their natural habitats. And then you can see some of the biology of these animals, the bones, the skins, the antlers, and other displays that include descriptive tags as well. You need to not only look in the display cases, but look above them as well to see all of the displays throughout the museum. The background audio is Kate and Kai as he's reading some of the signs and looking at the various animals throughout the museum. Common tracks of Allegany State Park, another area where you can test your wildlife knowledge. Can you tell what made these tracks just based on your knowledge? And then the answer key is included as well. Quite an extensive display on wild turkeys. In fact, we saw a wild turkey on this trip. It's not featured in this video. We didn't get it on film. It happened so quickly. We were driving from the Red House area to the Quaker area up over the hill.
Pretty cool.
And we saw it on the side of the road, and it quickly went out of view before we could get a photo. Here, Kate and Kai is starting an audio-visual display about wild turkeys. Let's listen to that.
Covering an area that stretches from Maine to northern Florida and west to Michigan. Wild turkeys can be found today in every state except for Alaska. Because the wild turkey is an outstanding game bird, an excellent table fare, it has always been hunted by man. Since the time of European expansion into the New World and the subsequent settlement of the American frontier, increased hunting pressure and loss of habitat have caused dramatic declines in historic wild turkey populations. Eastern wild turkeys were even extirpated or driven to extinction in a localized area from large portions of the northeastern United States. Wild turkeys can live up to 4 years. They have long, powerful legs, a long neck, and a large fan-shaped tail. The colorful male, or tom, can grow up to 4 feet tall and weigh up to 24 pounds. It has a spur on the back of its leg and a beard or tuft of coarse hair-like feathers that grows on its chest. The smaller female, or hen, is generally duller in color. Although their heads and necks are mostly bare, up to 6,000 feathers cover their bodies. Wild turkeys mostly walk, but can run up to 25 miles per hour and fly at speeds of up to 55 miles per hour for short distances. Adults can also swim. They travel in flocks and overnight in forested areas where they roost in trees and find cover from predators. Early in the day and near sunset, flocks of wild turkeys forage primarily in clearings at the edge of woods and alongside roadways. They scratch the forest floor, searching for acorns and nuts. They also eat insects, berries, seeds, and occasionally even small reptiles and amphibians. In the spring and summer, when turkeys are courting, you can hear males gobbling for a mile away. The female scratches a depression in dead leaves at the base of a tree or under a pile of brush for her nest. She produces 10 to 12 eggs that hatch in 28 days. A mother will feed her chicks or poults for only a few days until they can find food on their own.
Well, that was an excellent overview of wild turkeys. Definitely worth taking the time to listen to it. Now we'll continue our walking tour of the Red House Museum and other displays within the administration building. Here's the sign that's at the entrance to the museum itself. And there are other displays here as well, featuring trees and bird eggs. Another opportunity to test your wildlife knowledge. Do you know which eggs belong to which particular birds? And another display of a bear. Excellent job again on the taxidermy. Very lifelike. And also an area for younger children to sit, look at some conservationist magazines, and perhaps participate in other activities. And you see some butterflies, perhaps some moths in there as well. Now we'll walk from that end of the building, coming out into the main area of the administration building. There's a nice room off to the right here that has additional displays as well. Another bear on display. Even looks a little bigger than the bear in the other room, if I'm not mistaken. And antlers on the wall. This room is a nice area to sit and enjoy the view. Coming outside the front of the administration building onto the patio area. Very comfortable area, a number of Adirondack style chairs where you can sit, enjoy the weather, and enjoy the view as well. It was a nice day, partly sunny, not too hot, comfortable weather. Now we'll come out into the front and turn and take a look at the administration building. We also featured some photos and videos of the outside of this building in our earlier video about the annual camping event. Taking a look at a 360-degree view, there's Red House Lake, the hills, the trees, the ad building itself, all very scenic. Going back now into the building. Coming up into the main hallway again. This building also includes a Red House restaurant on the second floor, along with the State Park Police Headquarters. There's the rental desk for renting cabins and tent sites. Coming now into the Red House gift shop. There's a stuffed bear and Mommy. Mommy's the one on the right. Kate and Kai, you like browsing in the gift shop, don't you? And there you are now.
Mr. Hoot's dad.
Oh, nice. I like it.
It's Mr. Hoot.
Oh my gosh. Look at those eyebrows.
And there are a couple of items of interest you found in the gift shop. Now we'll take a look at some deer. This sign is on the highway just outside the park. And it is very appropriate because there are deer throughout Allegany State Park. This particular doe was in the field as we were taking a walk on the bike path in the Red House area, coming back from the ad building, walking towards the tent and trailer area. She was in the field on the right-hand side. Not afraid of us at all. We even had the dogs with us and they were barking from time to time. She was more interested in just getting a bite to eat rather than being concerned about us. We watched her for a short while as she walked around and ate, and then we continued on our way. Here's a deer we saw one night when we were out spotlighting. We like to go out at least once or twice during our camping event. Another deer while we were out spotlighting. And spotlighting in the park is perfectly legal as long as you're not doing anything other than looking at the animals. Don't have any interest in or any ability to hunt them. Another deer during our spotlighting. Mima had a spotlight on the right and Mommy on the left.
Hey, get on your own side.
Don't cross the streams, which worked out well unless they were crossing over to each other's side. Here's a deer we saw in the field one day as well. And then Koakai and I were out on a walk. We were on the road where the Red House General Store is. These are the woods between that road and the creek that leads to the other side where the A-loop is, where we were camping. And we noticed these deer bedded down in the middle of the day. Well, I noticed them. Koakai didn't see them, and I was trying to keep him quiet, and then zooming in to see these deer. It's not often you see deer bedded down during the day that are just sitting there like that. And then just in our A-loop itself, just up the way from our campsite, this deer was quietly eating breakfast one morning all by herself, enjoying a bite to eat. And moving off into the brush. Another deer we saw on the side of the road one day. This deer crossing the road in front of us early in the morning. You can see the fog is still rising. Headed home after a night of eating, I'm sure. This deer scratching its ear with its hind leg as it continues to eat some of the grass on the side of the road around the lake, enjoying itself as it gets its breakfast for the day. And one day when I was driving on the main road of the park, about 5 or 6 good-sized deer crossed the road in front of me. I didn't have the camera going, but I circled back and got this shot of them in the field. Unusual to see that many deer together crossing the road that time of day. And we also saw several woodchucks. This one we saw as we were pulling in
No, they're wild animals.
the tent and trailer area when we first arrived. Good-sized woodchuck.
Back up though, please. It's a wild animal.
Off to the left is another woodchuck Kate and Kai saw later in the week. You'll see it go off into the brush here in a second. There it goes.
He ran off.
And another woodchuck trying to cross the road.
Yeah.
Yep, I see him. You see him, Caden?
There's a raccoon we saw while we were out spotlighting.
He is little.
And later that night, another raccoon that we saw. And then one evening, Grandma took us to this beaver hut just outside the park. And we stood for about 30 minutes at sunset until this beaver arrived.
Far left side.
We were talking quietly, so we didn't scare it off. Let's listen in.
Just watch and be quiet. Just watch and be quiet. You'll see it. He's coming. He's right there in the water. You'll see it. Hang on. Come here to the path. Do you see it?
Are you that one?
That's a beaver. Yes. I'm sure.
Our patience paid off that night. As you can see, this beaver's just swimming around. We're only about 6 to 8 feet away from the water. We're on the side of the road, watching it swim around.
Okay, keep watching it. Do you see it? He may come out.
Thought for a minute it might come out of the water there on the side, but it decided to keep swimming around.
Go to the other side of the road.
Back and forth it went, looking for something, or just exploring the area.
Do you see him?
You can somewhat see the length of its body as it goes back and forth here, getting further away, going back towards the beaver hut. Call it a hut, not a dam, because it's not damming up any body of water. It's just in the middle of this marshy area. Now it's gone over to the edge of its hut. See a little bit more of its body.
He's right there. You see.
We were continuing to talk in whispered tones. Zoom in so we can see it better. It appears to have gotten something to eat. Enjoying a good evening meal as the sun is getting ready to set. We'll just watch it eat in peace.
There's a turtle, Kaden, right here close to shore.
And I believe I pointed out to Kate and Kai that that was a turtle head in the foreground in the water. It just went back underwater.
The beaver's moving.
Beaver seems to have found something else to eat as well. That's a good view of how big the beaver is.
And the turtle's head is out of the water, right out near the shore on the right-hand side.
There's the head of what I believe was a turtle again. While the beaver continues to munch away at its evening meal.
He's on the move.
I had thought that perhaps when it got done eating, it would disappear, head back underwater. We watched it swim around for quite a while. These are just the highlights of that footage. Each time it went underwater, I thought it was gone, but then it popped back up each time for several times. Just swimming around. We'll watch it go back and forth here. Not sure if it was looking for anything in particular. Maybe looking for more food. Again, coming straight towards us. Wasn't sure if it would perhaps come up on land. It never did that evening, at least. It did get very close to us. Never seemed to frighten it. I'm not sure it knew we were there. Typically, a beaver, if frightened, will quickly disappear, slapping its tail on the water to warn other beavers in the area that there's potential danger. But that never happened. It seemed to be quite satisfied. If it knew we were there, it didn't seem to care or have any interest in us. You hear some bullfrogs beginning to make some noise in the background. There's a good view of the beaver again going underwater, and I thought, all right, it's gone, we're done viewing it for the evening, but then it popped back up again. Perhaps it was checking the underwater area of the hut, swimming away. I thought it would go back where it came from. You got a good shot at its tail there as it went underwater, but again it came back up, continued to swim around back and forth, coming again towards our area. We weren't making any motions or any noise. We were just watching it, being as quiet as we could as it again swam towards us. Starting to come up a little bit out of the water, but deciding, no, wanted to go back under. And you could see the ripples in the water as it swam away. But that was the last that we saw of it that evening. Definitely enjoyable time watching that beaver, wasn't it, Kate and Kai? And then another day we saw this beaver. This was in the park itself. On the right-hand side as you come in, the Red House entrance off the highway. This was the middle of the afternoon, maybe late afternoon on this day. And this beaver was just hanging around in that area. Looks like maybe getting something to eat. We watched it for a few minutes as it walked around before we moved on. Here is a rabbit. We saw a couple of rabbits that afternoon that we saw. Didn't see a lot of rabbits in the park. Here's a close-up view of one of them. Then a butterfly that landed on one of the shirts we tie-dyed. Take a look at our tie-dye video as well. That was another camping activity. And here's another butterfly that landed on one of the dog's chew toys. In fact, 2 butterflies landed on it. There are lots of colorful butterflies in the park. There's even a butterfly meadow.
It's a garter snake.
Yeah, I'll go pick them.
No, don't pick him up, but you can look at him.
And we saw this snake on a rock as we
Oh,
were
there
going
he
off
went.
to a wildlife viewing area.
Slithered off. Okay, that was cool.
Grandma saw this snake while she was on a walk around the lake one morning. And she saw this snail on that walk as well. And then one evening she saw this turtle that appeared to be burying its eggs. In the local city, we saw a couple of black squirrels one afternoon. You don't see squirrels this color too often. Not technically wildlife, but this barn does have a lot of antlers on the front of it. This barn is just outside the park. We enjoy driving by it. Very interesting to look at, an old barn. And one afternoon we saw this hawk sitting in a tree on the outskirts of the park. Probably looking out at the field for its next meal. It had just landed there and then took off shortly after we saw it. There are several osprey nests throughout the park, and you can typically see at least one, if not a couple of osprey up in the nests. We took several pictures and videos of them this year. You can find the nests in both the Red House area of the park and the Quaker area. Here you see one getting ready to take off and take flight, and now the other one as well. And as they head off to soar through the air, very majestic. We were fortunate to get some good pictures of them flying around along with some video. Was hoping that they would circle back and land and that I could get some good video of them landing. But they didn't. I watched for several minutes, got a little bit of video as they soared through the air. It only makes sense that they would make their nest area near the state park, since you have the lakes, both the Red House Lake and the Quaker Lake, with plenty of fish for them to feed on. So it's an ideal area for a fish-eating bird. We always enjoy looking to see if there are any osprey in the nests as we drive by, walk by, or ride our bicycles past them. Here's another view of one of the osprey sitting in the nest. And I'm certain, though I didn't get any video of it, that this year I saw some babies in one of the osprey nests as well. And several years ago when we were camping, Mima took this photo of a bald eagle in one of the osprey nests in the Red House area. And even though the photo was from several years ago, I felt it was worthy of including in this video, especially since it was taken during a camping trip in the park. And the same goes for the next several photos that we'll use to close out this video. This bear crossing sign is a few miles away from the state park on the highway. And there are black bears throughout Allegany State Park. We saw this mama bear just off the highway between the state park and the nearby city. We know it was a mama bear because she had her cubs with her. We saw them and Mima took the photos during a camping trip a few years ago. During that same camping trip, we saw this bear in the Red House area just across from the Sugar Bush Trail. We don't see bears during every camping trip, but when we do, it's always an exciting experience, as long as we keep our distance. And that brings this wildlife video to an end.
Thanks for watching.
Please subscribe to our channel and like our videos.